Happy New Year. It is 2024, and we are back with the first live episode of Tonight in Haddonfield. On the docket tonight, what Halloween project that was once canceled could return? Stay tuned for that and much, much more a little later on. But joining me as always, it's Mr. Mean Dean Renner. What's going on, dude?
And there we go. I'm not muted. Happy New Year, everyone. And I'm finally back to a regular work schedule, so I am not dying of no sleep like you predicted and mentioned for my New Year's weekend. So I'm finally back to normal.
Yeah, I think I'm suffering right now from what you were suffering from.
Yeah,
So
it was rough.
it's been a crazy couple of weeks. Holidays always are, especially at Christmas time. Hopefully everybody had a fantastic holiday out there, and that Santa was good to you, and all that good shit and good times with family and so on. We got a lot that we're going to try to do here on the entire channel, Fandom Empire 2024. If you're a Halloween fan, probably going to be a good channel for you to tune in if you're into just in-depth discussion on lore, on whatever news comes our way from the Halloween TV series. But we're gonna get Dean those Taking Shape novels his way, and we're gonna dive into those extensively throughout the year. We wanted to do that in the back half of last year. We touched on some of it, but not to the extent that we wanted to. So Monday nights is really going to focus on Halloween still in Haddonfield, but also other horror happenings around the horror space. But also, away from Halloween, you have the Legacy of Star Wars, which is going to continue on Tuesday nights. You have Welcome to the Geek Side, which is going to continue on Wednesday nights, which you also will be able to hear Halloween stuff on when the conversation warrants it. And then we have a brand new show with a brand new host, and I can't say any more, that will start airing on Thursday nights. So that won't be live, at least not for the first little bit. That will be pre-recorded, edited content just because of availability is probably the best way to put it. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully episodes of that will start coming your way by the end of this month. So that'll be a Thursday night show. And so Fandom Empire's gonna be popping 4 nights a week, and I'm gonna be busy guy. So but mainly I'm excited for what's going on here tonight in Haddonfield. Like I said, we're gonna dive into those Taking Shape novels. We're gonna do some watch alongs. I gotta tell you, Dean, we did Star Wars A New Hope maybe like a week before Christmas or something. Mm-hmm. And it was one of my favorite watch alongs I have ever done. I've done a lot of Halloween ones. I've done a lot of horror ones. But myself, Randy, and Johnny just went on there and had a good time. We didn't just talk about the movie that was on our screens. Like, we did to an extent, but we allowed ourselves to explore conversation elsewhere, and it was just good, laid back fun. And I think that'd be something nice to bring to the table here. We have 13 different Halloween movies to pick from, and endless horror movies if the night warrants it. But how are your holidays, dude? And what's ahead for 2024 for you?
Holidays were nice. Fairly relaxed and more laid back for Christmas, but we kind of we prefer it that way. It takes out from like the craziness from it. So that was good. New Year's Eve was a totally different story. Like I said, with my work schedule that weekend, I was already very busy before that. And then New Year's Eve itself, we were open, I believe, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. for our open hours. And I was there until about 4 a.m. by the time we finished everything. So I had a pretty much like an 8-hour straight New Year's Eve night. And it was nonstop moving, nonstop people, just insanity the whole time. So that took a lot out of me. And it took me forever to get kind of recouped and caught up from that. So thankfully, that's all behind us. And I'm back to more of a regular schedule. And we'll have some regular daily events that we do normally. And then we'll host some big events like monthly or or a few times a month, coming up until about March, and then we start to slow down a little bit. So I got a decent couple of months ahead of me.
I apparently need a new mouse. There's
Yeah.
nothing more annoying than a half-broken mouse and trying to do something like this. So, damn cats, damn those
Yeah.
cats. Or we can blame Jade. That'd be fun too. Anyways, big thanks to the channel sponsors who continue to allow us to come on here and do what we do. We have some new things coming for them to present when we're live. But just while I'm here, just wanted to shout out Colleague Nation, and again, our thoughts are with Ryan and his family during this difficult time. I won't get into it any more than that, but they're going through a real hard time right now, and we're thinking about you, buddy. Storytime Spectacular, Jesse, longtime supporter of the channel, and Backtrack Cinema, Mr. Jason Nike, who, hey, you want a movie review on something? He's going to do stuff, and I believe he is set to come on this channel
Nice.
in the very near future. So looking forward to having Jason on soon, Braden Timmons on soon, and hopefully some other very unique surprises in the near future. We haven't talked since before Christmas, at least not on air. So I can't help but sit here and wonder, did you treat yourself to any new physical media that maybe you're not showing right now on camera, but did you pick up anything new that was unique?
I went ahead and did the 7 set. We briefly talked about that, and there's some interesting things going on with that for its release date. It was listed as early January, which I thought was this year. It was then removed from its pre-orders from certain websites due to almost like a safety net of not risking them overselling it, so that the distributors couldn't fulfill orders and people had to get cancellations. That has happened to me before. That's a big bummer when that happens. So I guess to kind of avoid that.
So it's already in high demand, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's in pretty high demand. I think it is back up on Amazon UK, but the release date is now kind of like to be determined. I've seen as late as a year from now, all the way at the end of 2024, could be December, and then someone got an updated notification that it was slated for May. So it could fall, I'm thinking Q1, Q2 this year, which would be somewhere between now and like May or June. I think that's more realistic. I don't think it's going to get pushed all the way to December. I think that was kind of like a placeholder. So, I'm just waiting on like a confirmation for that. And besides that, I think I picked up some studio stuff here and there. Nothing big collector's edition at the moment, except for what I have in store for tonight, which was something I waited a long time for. So Show and Tell tonight is a fun import set that I finally received.
Looking forward to that. Mm-hmm. Can't wait to get there. I'm excited for what 2024 brings. And I don't just mean in horror. I just mean every aspect of life. We're trying to approach it from a positive standpoint and make the most of it. In 2024 or the past 2023, and even years that have come before, it's harder and harder to find happiness. So when you have the opportunity to make the most of your time and go out and do stuff or get stuff, I think you should absolutely capitalize on that. Make yourself happy. Make people around you happy. There's a lot to dive into tonight, man. I'll give a little recap here of what's set for the rest of the night, and what we have here right now. If my thing would load, is we have a new segment called Movie Countdown, which we'll get to momentarily. We're going to discuss the Halloween TV series Wedding Idea that I brought up last week. Dean has some thoughts on that, as well as announcing a Halloween TV series episode next week where we're going to do something unique. Dean has his show and tell, and then we're going to discuss the title of the episode, the Halloween project that could return one day. So Dean, take it away, man. There's no graphic for it this week because to be transparent, we're getting to this a little late.
Yeah.
But Dean has a movie review. He's going to tell you a little bit about that movie, and he's got 5 minutes to do it. Regardless of where he is in that movie review, if we hit 5 minutes, the review is over. You ready, Dean?
I think so.
All righty, buddy. Take it away.
All right. So I came to Sean with the idea of kind of a horror highlight or something similar to horror. We might not tackle all horror movies or something of the genre, but things that kind of fall into the category. And I kind of came to him with the idea that let's highlight some movies for our audience to kind of give you guys stuff to check out if you haven't seen certain titles or things kind of flew under the radar for you guys. And give you guys some stuff to look forward to and hopefully check out and add to your collections if you collect the way that I do, or just stuff to check out on streaming. So I wanted to start out this week with a movie that I always highly recommend to a lot of people when I talk to them when they're looking for something, good, something that's going to hold their attention, good storyline, and just an all-around good movie. And I do obviously have the physical copy of this, so I'm going to grab that. And it is The Invisible Man from 2020. This movie, I cannot kind of sing its praises enough. Written and directed by Lee Whannell. I believe it's a Blumhouse Universal title. It released 2020. I believe I first checked this out on video on demand rental and was so thrilled with it that I rented it a second time to give it another watch and really kind of let it set in. And this movie, all across the board, I think it hits a lot of marks for horror fans or people that just really like suspense thrillers and things of that nature. So I'm going to go off the description here, and then I'll kind of give some details and then some technical stuff as well. So this movie is about a woman who is trapped in a violent and controlling relationship, and she's looking to get away from that. And she's running away from the boyfriend or the fiance, and he at all costs just will not allow that to happen. So she sneaks away in the middle of the night. This is how the movie opens up. So you really get like a taste of how severe this situation is taking toll on her. So she escapes, and the entire rest of the movie is all about her getting away from that and trying to kind of recover from that. So she kind of shacks up with a friend of hers, and strange things start happening. And she can feel the sense that she's being followed or someone's keeping tabs on her, and she cannot figure out how or why this is happening. And if you want to talk about suspense, I think this movie itself is a phenomenal masterclass on suspense, because what it doesn't really deliver in the horror aspect, for me at least, it doesn't really fall as a horror movie for me, but the suspense factor is like a 10 plus. There's just really long and drawn out shots that just make your minds kind of race, like what's going on and what is happening. And there's a bunch of twists and turns. The whole storyline is just fantastic. And then the ending is just, I think it's really satisfying for a lot of people. And it's sort of a shock value, kind of, not so much a twist, but just a very solid kind of bring things full circle ending that just kind of leaves you like, wow. The performances are great. Elizabeth Moss just does fantastic in her role. Cinematography is great. The sound design, if you've never really experienced Dolby Atmos in a theater and you have that ability at home somehow on maybe like a surround sound setup or at least a sound bar that delivers Atmos, it's like what I call like a room rocker. The sound design is just fantastic. You hear every little creak and everything in the background, and sounds are kind of moving around you. And it's just, I can't speak it up even more. Just everything about this movie has sold me from the first time I watched it. that I rented it twice, was thrilled with it, and then went out, seeked it out on a physical media copy, almost bought it on Blu-ray, and then I held out and decided to go ahead and get that 4K. And it's definitely one of my favorite purchases that I own. Even though it's just a standard studio release, it offers so much, and it's an overall like just fantastic movie that I really think people should give a chance and check out if they haven't.
So I have heard of The Invisible Man. You told me before the show you were going to do it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I couldn't remember if I'd heard of it or not.
Okay.
And what did it for me was the cover art.
Yeah.
It was the cover art. And by the way, you got that in just
Is it going to show up?
Just
under
time.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So, yeah, you had me at cinematography and sound design. Those are two things that, we're not going to hate on you. Although some people seem to think Dean hates on them for liking a certain movie. But we're not going to hate on you if you like Halloween Ends. That's up to you. You like Halloween Ends? Great. Fantastic. I'm not a fan. I'm not. The story really turns me off, and certain decisions that were made with certain characters, just not great. Also, behind the scenes issues as well. Story for another time, though. We've already talked about it before. We'll touch on it again in the future. However, the sound design in that movie and the cinematography are fan-fucking-tastic. To me, those two things make that movie watchable. It's just unfortunate that some of the creative decisions with it make me go, oh.
Yeah.
So, you get this tug of war because, they really did do a fantastic job on that movie with sound design and cinematography. So, if The Invisible Man has those two things, it's definitely worth a shot, in my opinion. And I'll tell you what, I think what we'll do is maybe I'll find this movie and watch it with the wife, and maybe we'll do a little 10-15 minute review and put it up on Patreon. So if you're an Invisible Man fan, you watch this show and are wanting more, then check it out. Maybe we'll get to that a little later this month. What were the order of things here? I don't have the notes on my phone, so I keep having to go back to it. All right, so last week I came up with this idea. I should have just had the clip ready. If I had more time today, I just went to our own YouTube clip from last week. I guess it's not last week. Pardon me. I don't even remember when this episode would have aired now. Just before Christmas, I believe. But I came up with this idea that, hey, what if a Halloween TV series focused on protagonist and not Michael, and you don't spend too much time, not necessarily the characters in the movie don't spend too much time wondering about Michael Myers. Michael Myers is not this famed serial killer at this point. In this movie or in this TV series, he'd become the Shape. And how do you care about protagonists? Well, you get to spend time with them. You get to find out about them. You get to figure out if they're relatable or not. You get to figure out if you want Tina to get thrown through a wood chipper or not. Sorry, that's another episode. But you spend time with them. You cast good actors and actresses, and you have good, well-written roles. I came up with the idea, well, what if we spend time with a family or multiple families uniting perhaps and friends involved, and it's leading up to a wedding, and maybe a few episodes in, the wedding happens, and that's when Michael strikes. You get hints of stalking in the prior episodes, but maybe you don't ever fully see Michael in those episodes before he reveals himself about halfway through, and really truly let Michael Myers be the Shape. Not some kid that we meet in 1963. You can provide backstory later on or whatever. But truly the Shape, where, a series doesn't start the way that the original Halloween does with Michael. A lot of people say, well, Laurie's the POV of, the point of view character from Halloween 78. And, to an extent, that's right. But at the same time, the first thing we begin with is Michael. You know, we are literally Michael at the beginning of that movie.
Mm.
And I think truly, though, to get the shape, I think you need to remove that. Not that it didn't happen, not that there isn't backstory to revisit, but let's let, you know, the characters in this new series discover Michael for themselves in the most horrifying way possible as he slaughters people at a wedding for whatever reason. You know, there might be no reason. That's the best part about the boogeyman. Not because, you know, some girl left him for whoever, but, you know, Michael Myers appears at a wedding. And then all of a sudden, you get mass chaos come from the wedding.
Yeah.
That was my, you know, very vague surface level idea. And I'll touch more on that in a bit, but Dean had some thoughts that he wanted to extend on that idea. So go ahead, man.
Yeah. Yeah, when you mentioned that, it kind of really got my wheels spinning, and it's a different take. It's something we haven't really seen before. So it really had my attention as to like this can really kind of lead into something. So I jotted some notes down, and I think we mentioned setting it somewhere in like the early to maybe mid '90s or as late as like the early 2000s. So bring it up a little bit to like modern day.
Yeah, I think if you could do it in the 80s, that would be ideal. But, you know, we haven't spent too much time in the 90s with Halloween.
Right.
And I know Fear Street's not for everybody, but one of the things I loved about that movie was revisiting the 90s. So I think it'd fit.
Yeah. So that time period, I think it would end up working out really well. I think the big thing you want to leave out is like modern technology and kind of remove that safety net of people being able to use cell phones and you know have contact so easily. So that's just going to add to the rest of it because it just takes that factor out. So you mentioned kind of leading up to possibly following a family or two families for that case if would follow the families of the bride and the groom, and then that gives the chance to introduce a bunch of characters like you said, spend some time with them, keep it in Haddonfield and kind of go that direction. And like you mentioned, Michael's not like the boogeyman that everybody knows about. Like he's kind of like a troubled, he was a troubled kid, and maybe 63 and 78 happened and the town knows about it, but it's still sort of like an urban legend. Like people have heard about it, they know of it, but he was incarcerated at whatever age, and then depending on what they might do with 78, maybe he was captured and maybe he was locked up, but he only killed a handful of people. So you're kind of going the direction that 2018 tried a little bit, as far as that. But like I said, there's so much room to expand on that. Let's see what else I have here. I mentioned things that like little tidbits of things could happen. Like maybe you revisit the idea of there's news around the town that people go missing. So maybe someone just goes missing. They don't know, how it happened or what happened. So that's something you can explore. You could do the break-ins, like a break-in here and there. That could essentially lead up to how Michael gets his whole outfit when he is going to return. But I think I jotted something down here as far as like there could be a break-in at like a small business or a first responder location where that's where Michael gets the coveralls from. And then people could be decorating for Halloween around the area, and all of a sudden they had this old mask that they were going to use in their front yard, and that's how he gets that. So just like things like that. And I think it keeps the mystery a little bit, but I think it's a good opening to kind of lead into your story.
Yeah, I think you can go so many different. Is that Twisted Tea? I had a bunch of those the other day. Probably too many for my own good. I think it just allows you to do so much if you set it in that time period and you go with a story that's not so based off of Michael, that allows him to be the shape, that you get him in just bits and pieces. And then obviously, let's say it's 8 episodes. Let's say the wedding happens episode 4, and the last couple minutes we get our first full-on visuals of Michael, making episode 5 like just this banana episode where there's multiple deaths and it's very action based. Episode 6, you can have things settle down again. Episode 7, you can have things still settled, build up to a big ending, and then episode 8, just chaos. Now, is it more than one season? Is it not more than one season? I don't know, but to me, that'd be a good starting point. And if you do something in the 80s or the 90s, you do have the flexibility to go, okay, well, 63 did happen, but maybe 78 didn't. Or maybe 63 happened in 1978.
Right.
21-year-old Michael from 1978 is what? 1999? That wouldn't be a terrible year to set a show. Yeah. Technology's out there, but we're not talking smartphones. We're talking old cell phones that have the green screen and the black font.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all those ideas are good, which leads us to an announcement of sorts. So next week on this show, we may or may not have a guest or two. We are going to talk about what our official pitches would be to Miramax for a Halloween TV series. Not necessarily that we're in charge or anything, but just what we think realistically is the best way that the franchise could go with the TV series. So Dean's going to come up with his, I'm going to come up with mine. We'll have stuff like, who wrote it, who directed it, who's involved with maybe some of the behind the scenes. I don't know if Dean will go as deep as a cinematographer, although I think him and I might both have the same one in mind there. But like, who's in it? Very brief character roles, and maybe a paragraph or two on what the actual story would be about. So we're going to do that next week, right here on the show. But we're also going to put that up on the Legacy of Halloween Facebook group. What are we now, like 250,000 people or something like that?
265 and some change, almost 266. So we are up there.
266. My bet is we're at 350 by the end of the year. There's a whole other Halloween season coming.
Yeah.
And as more information comes out about the series, people will come to the channel, people will go to the pages, etc. Which, by the way, if you haven't yet, click the like button, comment down below, comment in the live chat, share your thoughts there on what you would like to see with a Halloween TV series. I'm going to go, I don't know if I'll expand on the wedding idea or do something different, but I can tell you one thing. My ideal will be more based around the protagonists and how they can be unique and interesting, while allowing us to experience Michael as the Shape once again. As much as I would love for H4 Michael to come back and Jamie Lloyd to be back, Danielle Harris playing her, obviously. I don't know how likely those things are, so my pitch probably won't contain any of that. So we'll see you next week on the show in terms of that particular topic. We're not done with Halloween, though. We're going to get to Halloween at the end of the episode, too. Not necessarily the last 5 minutes, but the last probably 15 or 20. And we're going to talk about a Halloween project canceled years back that at least I have reason to believe. And I'm not saying there's anything substantial here or that it's an official rumor or we think it's going to happen. But I have reason to believe that could be utilized again, whether it's most of what was already written or just bits and pieces. And that project is, stay tuned and you'll find out. Anyway, Dean, any final thoughts on the Halloween TV series discussion?
I really like the direction that could go. Like you said, there's a lot of avenues that could be explored. You spend more time with characters, you get to know them. When they're killed off, it's going to hold some meaning to it, so it's going to have that factor put in as well. And like I said, if you keep Michael more backseat as far as his legend isn't quite as prominent in it, it leaves a lot of room for people in our characters that we're following to not know what kind of situation they're in and how to handle it. So I really like that direction, and it would be cool to kind of maybe explore some more ideas and go further with that. Maybe that's a segment we can do here where we just continue to expand on that. So it's a fun idea, and I would definitely like to dive into it a little more.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing that. Tune in next week for the Halloween TV series pitches that Dean and I will be doing. And if you would like to share yours, I will have the live stream up, maybe even by tonight, but possibly tomorrow. So you can either post them right on the live stream, or you can head on over to Facebook and check out the Legacy of Halloween group. I will be starting a thread there after the show, and you can just plop them in there. There'll probably be a few threads on this very topic throughout the week. So again, tune in next week as we discuss Halloween TV series pitches, what realistically makes sense, and what would we like to see. Dean, it's my favorite segment of the week because unlike some people out there who want physical media to die and think that there's no use for it and want everything digital, and I'm not going to lie, I think digital is very convenient. I love physical media when done right, because sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not at all, and honestly, it gives the good stuff a bad rap. But my favorite segment of each week is Dean's show and tell, and excited to see what you have this week, man.
Yeah. So as I mentioned a little earlier, this was an import set that I ordered a few months ago and was just anxiously awaiting. And then to kind of throw a bonus attachment, I guess we'll call it, into this, it's going to be a slight compare and contrast because this did have a previous Blu-ray release. I would have loved if this was 4K. It's unfortunately not. It's just another Blu-ray, not quite an upgrade, but just a new edition, a collector's edition, and it's an import. So this comes from Australia. This is sort of a religious, I guess kind of a thriller, if you want to call it that. But if people are familiar, it is the movie Stigmata. This movie follows a young girl who's like a hairdresser. She lives in Pittsburgh. She's on the side of almost like an atheist. So she doesn't really have religious beliefs too much. And the basis for this movie is her mother is visiting a foreign country, and a very high-named priest in that country passes away. And a kid who's in the church in the funeral procession or ceremony takes the rosary that the priest was supposed to get buried with. He runs off and he sells it to the woman who ends up being this young girl's mom, and she ends up with this rosary. And then strange things start happening to her, which is why the movie's called Stigmata. She ends up with the wounds of Jesus Christ, and she cannot figure out why. So this movie dives into all of that, and it's a fun like thriller to an extent. It's a fun watch. It kind of resonates better with people who do follow like Christianity or Catholicism, but even if you don't, it's kind of an interesting movie to watch. But this here is from Umbrella Entertainment. So I've mentioned them a few times. They are an import label from Australia. I believe they ship worldwide. This was a pre-order, I think, around the end of summer. So September-ish, I think the pre-orders went up. And this finally showed up to me on Christmas Eve. So when you asked if I got anything for Christmas as far as physical media goes, here it is. So we get this nice, beautiful double box rigid case that Arrow does, that Vinegar Syndrome sometimes does. Universal is getting on this train and doing some editions like this for some studio titles now, which is cool. But this was one for me that I really wanted to grab because the previous Blu-ray, although it comes from Scream Factory, not that it was lacking, but it had a couple of special features, and it came out, I believe, in 2015. So it had been a number of years since we got an updated version of this. So I actually have the Scream Factory version right here. So I'm going to compare these a little bit once I get finished getting through this. So this one comes in a typical collector's edition with the hard case here. So that's always fun. I love those kinds of packaging. They take up a little bit of shelf space, but they're just so nice to have. So then you get your Blu-ray here. Your Blu-ray comes with a cardboard slipcover. So that's just a nice little collector's piece that they throw on I think it's in like a little throwback to VHS covers from back in the 80s and 90s. So they do nice artwork on these all the time. Can't go wrong with a good slipcover. So let's toss that to the side. Then you have your movie art here. I think this may have been one of the posters, but I'm not 100% sure. And then we have art cards here. We have our art cards here. I don't usually take them out of the band, but I think I have room to get them out. Yeah, so you get some nice shots from the movie. All kinds of different stuff here. I think there's about 8. This is just a bunch of shots from in the movie. These are just fun to have. You can always frame these up and put these on display. I have a ton of these, but they remain in the package because I don't have room to display all this stuff. Our band came off. So let's get rid of that. There we go. Yeah, so these are just really little simple but nice inclusion. You get some still shots. So these are fun. And there you go. And then inside the case, I think there's a small poster, so I can grab that. But the cream of the crop with these releases, as always, is a booklet. And this is an essay by, what is his name? I believe it's in here. An essay by Travis Johnson. So this dives into, if you can see, it just is a ton of information. It's so brand new, I can't even open it all the way. But he goes into a deep dive essay all about this movie. And as you can see, you get really nice images and artwork. This thing is long. It's about, let's see here, there's a whole bunch of artwork in the back. Thank you and stuff. All about the artist in here too. There's some concept art on how they designed it, so that's always fun. Yeah, and then here's all your foreign posters for the movie. So this is always love these. These are just so informative, and they just pack so much stuff into these books. So it doesn't give me a page count, I don't think, on this, but I mean, somewhere in the range of 80 to 100 to maybe over 100 pages. So yeah, so these are they're always great inclusions to do with those releases. So next, as I said, I was doing a little compare and contrast here. So this is your 2015 Scream Factory release, and then this is your new Umbrella release. I originally was going to sell this one off because I don't necessarily need 2 copies if I don't have to. And then I double check the special features. And this one ports over most of what is on here, except for the fact that Scream Factory has an exclusive special feature on here called Incredible But True, marked for life. And it's about a 45-minute, I don't know if it's a documentary about the making of the movie, but it's some type of featurette that kind of dives into, I think, like the lore of what the Stigmata are. And then I think it kind of explains how it ties into the movie a little bit and what was fact, what was fiction, and kind of what they kind of doctored up a little bit. So for that reason alone, I will now be keeping this. There's no reason for me to get rid of this, so I'm going to hang on to that because I paid a nice little penny to get this when I got it. I didn't get this in 2015 when it first came out. I had to track down a copy from a seller, and I was able to get it still sealed and brand new, but not that I broke the bank, but I paid about over $50 just to get this because this was out of print for so long. And then this one came along. So definitely wanted to add the new edition. And it does port over everything that is on that Scream Factory release, except for they gave us an exclusive audio commentary with a couple of film critics. And then they also brought over the commentary that's on that previous version too. So you got 2 great versions here. Tons of features on both of them, but that Scream Factory one will be staying in my collection for that documentary it includes. And that is show and tell for the week.
So I've never even heard of that.
Oh,
yeah,
it is. It's about 99 or 2000, so it's a late 90s.
You enjoy it?
It's a favorite of mine. For some reason, just movies that deal with like Catholic religion and some type of events going on, they kind of grab my attention a lot. I spent 8 years in Catholic school, so that probably has something to do with it.
For sure.
Yeah.
little bit of a nostalgia kick there too.
Yeah.
I don't want to go on any further without addressing our super chat we got a little earlier.
Yeah.
Lee says Chris Nelson posted on his Instagram story a few days ago a picture of Michael's body at the crematorium. His body was going to get cremated.
Oh.
I wonder if there was a different ending to Ends, but never happened. Well, I know there was different endings to Halloween Ends, that's for sure. And I don't know if you've gone all the way through your making of book yet or not. I don't know if any of that addresses it. I suspect not. It's not like it's not a third party thing like taking shape where they have the flexibility to go out there and cover whatever the hell they want.
Right.
But Ends was like a 4 or 5 person fan fiction that just kept getting passed along and along, and at one point Laurie was going to off herself in it, right? So it's definitely possible. I think the more time that passes, the more you will see different things, not just on that movie, but all 3 of them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that. The special features that we got are lacking on the Universal releases, so I want to see how much further we can get as far as behind the scenes information and like stuff that was cut on the whole trilogy. So that's something I'm on the lookout for, and hopefully, like I said, we get collector's editions that kind of dive into that. So hopefully, we'll see.
I see there's a lot in the chat to get to, about 10 or 11 questions still. If you have anything you want to talk about horror-wise, anybody, Halloween-wise, what your Halloween series TV pitch would be, although I would suggest saving that for next week. If you wanted to share some shorter ideas, then feel free to do so, and we'll get to the rest of these at the end of the show. So please feel free to comment. We are going to move on to the Halloween project that I have reason to believe is, it's dead for the moment and it's been dead for a while, but apparently it's not something that's been ruled out for possibly revisiting. And honestly, it makes sense. It's become sort of a, folklore legend around the Halloween universe, if you will, for the lack of a better term. And you hear a lot of Blumhouse trilogy fans reference this script a lot, and people go back to it a ton on social media. So like there's definitely the diehard Halloween fan has some stock in this, but dude, the one movie that I sit there and I look at all the scripts that were out, Taking Shape 2 does a fantastic job diving into a bunch of them, but I revisited the Taking Shape 2 coverage on this movie. I just sort of sat there and said to myself, yeah, if you wanted to still make the original movie stand, but continue on from there with all new characters for the most part, Mr. Entertainment Wizard is correct. Halloween Returns. Not only would this be the return post-Halloween Ends, not in the same timeline, the Halloween Returns title works. The Halloween Return title would have worked perfectly fine for Halloween 2018 too, and they chose not to go with that just because of the amount of coverage that had come out about Halloween Returns. Yeah, man, like Halloween Returns, as we know, takes place after Halloween 1. I don't know how much you know on it. I know we didn't get a chance to talk about it too much, and we're gonna do sort of a deep dive into it throughout the week and come. Actually, not next week, but the week after, I think we'll do a full episode where Halloween Returns is the primary topic. But essentially, Michael's on death row and getting ready for execution, and all hell breaks loose. And I believe Deputy Hunt is in it as well, and he's kind of he's so obsessed about what happened that he's sort of just the family's getting the short end of the stick. So like. And that right there is what I'm talking about when I come up with a Halloween TV series. I would not even rule out the possibility that you could reshape Halloween Returns into a Halloween series. think about it. Michael Myers, death row. You can still hold off the reveal of the mask and the outfit. You know, him eventually getting away or whatever. Um, but like, I, I truly think when you look at Halloween Returns for what it is, what is written, what's been covered about it, it's the one thing where I go, yeah, if you wanted to do another movie and have one stand, meaning 1978, Returns makes a lot of sense, man.
Yeah.
I honestly think it does. I don't want to get too far into it on this episode because I want to read up on it and listen up on it a little bit more before we do a full deep dive on it. But Halloween Returns is something that's already amongst the fandom like a holy grail, if you will. Even though the script's not too hard to find, you know, it gets talked about because I think it's the alternative, right? It's the what if we went this direction instead of Halloween 2018?
Yeah.
Well, I'm here to say that I don't think that's a direction that's completely dead.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they're dead set on having Carpenter's vision stand and continuing on from there, I know people might eye roll at another continuation from 78, but like
Right.
I really do think it's something that's possible.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, and would you want it?
Yeah. Halloween Returns is something I've only heard bits and pieces about. The few things I've heard were what you mentioned, so I kind of know the basis for what direction they were going to go, which is him being on death row and escapes the lethal injection, and then the whole reign of terror starts from there. I did not know that Deputy Hunt was going to be the one kind of in pursuit, so I like that idea. You're including someone from Halloween 2, so you're picking up from 78, but it almost sounds like they're treating 78 as Halloween 1 and 2 across the entire night. So they're picking up from what sounds like both movies. So that's a direction I would like to see. Definitely want to get into that script and dive into it and see all the ideas that were going to unfold and what direction they were going to go. So it's yeah.
Do you think you can read the script between now and 2 weeks from now?
I think I can knock that out. Because for me, when it comes to reading stuff, it's if I'm invested and like really interested in the topic, I can blow right through it. So I think this will achieve that.
Awesome. So there you have it. You have your next 2 weeks of Tonight and Haddonfield content set, and then I believe the week after that, Braden Timmons is set to come on. So really, it's the next 3 weeks of Halloween content covered for you or set for you here on Tonight in Haddonfield. Next week we have our Halloween TV series pitches episode, and then the following week we'll dive into Halloween Returns. I know some other people might want to get in on that. That might in fact end up being a one topic episode and just having the movie countdown and show and tell with it, but no additional content probably on that episode. I think it'll end up going deep. I don't even know how many pages that script is. I can't remember. I think it's 80 plus for sure.
Oh, okay.
So be on the lookout for that because I really think Halloween Returns is not completely dead in a sense. How close to the version that I might have just forwarded your way would it remain? Who knows? But I do think that there are strong elements there that can absolutely be utilized, and I do think the death row element is something that has been revisited multiple times while doing pitches for Halloween. It hasn't come to life yet. I can still see it coming to life. Any other thoughts on Returns before we move on?
I'm now excited to get into that script and see what direction they went, and then we can deep dive into it and then discuss it here. So Halloween Returns has always been kind of an interest for me. I just never took the initiative to kind of seek any kind of information or any details out and dive into it. So now I have reason to.
All right, let's get to some questions here in the chat before we wrap up for the evening. George, what's going on, buddy? Long time no see. Would a complete reboot be a good idea? And if so, who would play a good Michael Myers? it depends on what you consider a complete reboot. Like, do you consider Halloween Returns a complete reboot? I don't, simply because you'd still be, well, theoretically, they could do Halloween Returns and still have a different origin story that happens in the first like 10 minutes of the movie before you fast forward several years. So Returns could work for, both ways, but I'm okay with a complete reboot. But to me, if you do it, you need to move away from Laurie, focus on a different character or characters.
Mhm.
And there's so many different people that could play a good Michael Myers, James Jude Courtney claims he won't come back, but the fact is that they go into production on something relatively soon and quick, even though it's a whole different company that'll be doing it. James gets that call.
Yeah.
A financial offer and creative ideas might sound different than his initial.
Exactly.
I don't think James Jude Courtney is living like most celebrities.
No.
So we'll see if anything comes to light there. But there's so many different people. There's so many people you've probably never even heard of,
Mhm.
and that we haven't even heard of that could play a fantastic Michael.
Yeah. I would go with Aaron Armstrong. I would bring him back. I think he did good with the stunt work and in the flashback and kills. So he's got the size, he's got the look. If they can recreate something close to the '78 look, if they're going to go that route, I think he fits the bill pretty well. So if I was going to pick, I think that would be my number one.
Yeah, Aaron Armstrong would be definitely a really good pick.
Yeah.
Travis says, hope you guys are well. One medium no one has talked about is Halloween doing an audio drama like Audible. It's very music driven anyway, so I think it would translate well. Well, people have certainly talked about doing that on the fan side because we are some of them. But on the official side, I don't think that is a medium that is explored nearly enough. There are some really good ones out there, and hey, they're perfect for if you drive for a living or you work somewhere where you can have earbuds in.
Yeah.
You talk about passing time while you're working. Fantastic way to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone's talked about it at an official capacity, but I do know, and I mean, it's pretty clear to everybody if you've been paying attention that that Trancas is starting to do a lot more with the Halloween license and merchandising and gaming and stuff like that. So I certainly wouldn't rule it out, but at the end of the day, there's got to be some money in it too, right?
Yeah, of course.
Travis, it wouldn't work because it's too far out, but I'd love to do an alternate H6 set on the night of H5, injured Sheriff Meeker discovering Michael gone, teaming up with some prisoners to hunt him down. Man, that's a tough sell for me, doing a sequel to H5.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to sell me on a sequel to H4. Sign me up. I would be open to it. And you know what? You probably sold me on it being surrounded around Meeker.
Mm-hmm.
But I think every role can be recast. But man, Bo Starr's performances in those two movies, good luck recapturing that, in my opinion.
Yeah, Meeker's a great character. For those of us who end up missing Brackett, Meeker was a great stand-in. And he had two great movies. And then we see him at the end kind of laid out in the police station. And because we don't have context on that, you can easily kind of take that and it wasn't fatal. And you can bring Meeker back and you can explore that. And then if we're going to continue to bring back characters, there's always room for Tina. So...
Trying to cue up my boo button, it didn't work. Fuck that.
Yeah. No Tina.
Travis Mitchell won't work. Michael never kills on November 1st. Well, Michael's killed on different days. A lot of people think it's only Halloween. It's not. I don't know about November 1st, though. I have no doubt. Actually, in fact, I can guarantee some of Halloween 2's kills are done on November 1st. So,
yep. You took the words right out of my mouth.
I'm going to disagree with that one. And also, my whole pitch for the Halloween TV series more centered around new, interesting protagonists where there's, a wedding and emotional stakes, there's no way Michael can only kill on the 31st for that to work. Not for me, anyways. I think, you have days leading up, or I think I even mentioned you have a couple weeks leading up to the wedding to start, where Michael's probably stalking during that time, and then maybe the grand finale is on Halloween, but the wedding's still a Halloween themed wedding a couple days before, still surrounded in the Halloween season for sure. But I think, in fact, just frankly, unless they do it in a very interesting, unique way, I think people are going to have to loosen up on the whole Michael only killing on Halloween if you want a TV series to be about Michael.
Yeah.
Or Michael in it.
Right. And to kind of expand on the November 1st idea, if they were to kind of go the direction that we mentioned with the wedding, I have to imagine, I've gone to a couple weddings. They take place early in the day, but the reception runs into the evening and sometimes up to late night. So depending on when you bring Michael in for that, it could be 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, crossing midnight, and you're getting into technically November 1st, but you're still on Halloween night. So you have a window of time to play with there, where it still fits Halloween, but technically it's November 1st. So I think it's an avenue that they can do and explore, and I think it works pretty well.
No, for sure. I think I just think it's best to not marry yourself to the idea of killing on just that day. It's too limiting while trying to do something that could consist of 6, 8, 10, 12 episodes even.
Right.
So, we'll wait and see what happens there. Travis says something like Assault on Precinct 13 meets Halloween, with Meeker hunting the man in black and Michael before the sun comes up. Hunt coming in, questioning Meeker's authority, trying to take charge. Hey man, it sounds a fuck of a lot better than H5, even though it's a sequel to it. So I'll say that, dude.
Yeah, I'm in for that. That sounds like it's pretty intriguing.
A H2 TV series would make the most sense, just to give Michael a break. Stephen, I'd like to see the TV series set in 1963, exploring Michael's childhood, with the final episode tying into the first few minutes of Carpenter's Halloween. Why did he leave the Myers house?
Well, we've had that discussion a little bit, Sean.
Yeah. That hits a little close to home.
Yep.
I like that idea.
Mm-hmm.
I can get behind that idea. But you're going to have not an entire fan, but you're going to have a good chunk of the fan base going, we didn't get him in the mask. We didn't get him as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe to throw them a bone, you have the very final, maybe the first few minutes of Carpenter's movie, not that you would just take from there, you'd reshoot it, is in the penultimate episode. And then you get like a 1 hour different take on Halloween 1. So.
Yeah, it could work. You're playing in a sandbox of getting into his backstory and his childhood if you do explore that. So for a lot of people that doesn't work, but I think it's a line that can be towed without crossing too much, which is the idea that I mentioned of tying a 63 flashback into ends with kind of starting that night before the Myers house. So it can be done. It's a delicate kind of story to handle. So, but yeah, I like the idea.
Entertainment Wizard says, my understanding is they use the return script without Weinstein's being involved. So that's not happening for too many reasons. Well, I mean, any script can be sold. I don't know how true that is. And elements from scripts can be borrowed all the time for no cost whatsoever. So, and I think truthfully, the likelihood of seeing the script that is out there go to screen is minimal.
Mm-hmm.
But the likelihood of someone using 30, 40, 50% of what's in there in terms of elements, very, very possible. Dare I say, almost even expected at some point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We see it across a ton of movies where things are very similar, and you have to wonder if they borrowed ideas from elsewhere to come up with that and just go a different direction and expand on things. So I think the possibility is there.
Byron says Halloween Returns by Marcus Dunstan and Patrick Melton. Halloween Kills 1978 flashback, but as the whole movie with Aaron as Michael.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd sign up for that. Hey, you want another Halloween movie set in the Blumhouse universe there that they did? There you go. Sold me on it. I'll sign up for that one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, from what I've heard, Bo Star retired due to throat cancer, but finishing that night making Jamie kind of a surrogate daughter to Meeker could be interesting.
Yeah.
Lots of good ideas, guys. Lots of good ideas. If you haven't yet, again, please like the stream or the video. Comment down below. Share your thoughts there. Anything thoughts you might have, just share them below. We would love to hear them. Just going to do some housekeeping here. Big thanks to our patrons. Without you guys, we would not be here. So thank you for what you do. And slash the bell too. If you don't slash the bell, you're probably not getting notified about shit. So check us out. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Fandom Empire. Dean, any closing thoughts on Halloween Returns before we return to that topic in just a couple weeks' time?
I'm looking forward to now getting into that script that you just sent me. So to kind of see what ideas played out. I love the direction of he's on death row and about to be executed, and then he breaks out of that and all chaos kind of breaks loose. So I want to see how that fully unfolds. I like the idea of bringing Deputy Hunt in from Halloween 2 and, making him kind of like the front runner. He's a character that wasn't explored too much. So to kind of bring him back and go further with that, that has my interest. And it would be great to see if Returns somehow does come back in some capacity and some ideas are borrowed and then given to us on a new project. So I got my fingers crossed for something like that.
It'd be so much fun. And final comment of the night goes to Travis. An H3 sequel on the same night in a town an hour behind the rest of the country would be cool.
Yeah.
Have an hour to stop the commercial from airing while the remaining Shamrock bots close in. See, I think I don't think that works. I'm not trying to rain on your parade or anything like that. But for me, I think the reason that doesn't work is simply when Halloween 3 is set.
Yeah.
If it was set today, you're right. News would be all over the world in minutes, right? But if there's just some small town, an hour behind the rest of the world there, or at least not Haddonfield, but where the hell's H3 take place again?
I was going to say, I think it's California, Santa Mira, maybe.
I can't remember, but I think that becomes so compelling. But what I would do is find a way to just retell H3 and have the ending of H3 not actually be the ending of like a TV series, and have your sequel to H3 idea be the ending to the TV series. So you still get to re-see the events of H3, but in modern times. And then I think that idea works better. That's just me. What the fuck do I know? Dean, closing thoughts as we wrap up here, man. Looks like we have a busy few weeks planned ahead.
Yeah, that we do. I got some homework to do. So I got 2 weeks of reading. Hopefully it doesn't take that long to get through that script. And then
I've read that script before, and I bet you, I could be wrong, but I bet you're done that way quicker than you even think right now.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. When something grabs my interest and I really get into kind of reading it, and I have plenty of downtime, I'll get through that pretty quick. So I'll be reading that and then kind of writing some thoughts down on that so that when we do get into it, I am fully prepared. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I can't wait. I would advise any Halloween fan out there, if you're starving for new content and you can't wait for the TV series, which is you're looking at 2 or 3 years away, and potentially longer. You never know. Um, Go find the scripts. Yeah, did they get made? No, but these are official things that were worked on and pitched with the intention of making some of them even getting into casting and like deep into pre-production. So strongly encourage you to get Taking Shape 1, Taking Shape 2, but also to go out there and find the scripts yourselves and dive into them, because you're talking most of these things 80, 90, 100, 110, 120 pages of Halloween and Michael Myers content that you have never read before,
Right.
never heard of before if you're not haven't done this deep dive. And honestly, I think you'll be surprised how much of that content you might sit there and go, well, this definitely would have been a better direction than a few of the lower end Halloween movies for sure, to a point where you might even frustrate yourselves a little bit. So
Taking Shape is definitely on my to-do list of early purchases for this year, because the early months for physical media are kind of slow, so that gives me time to look elsewhere. So I think I'm going to go ahead and grab those as soon as possible.
where can everybody find you at, man?
You guys could follow me weekly here with Sean on Tonight in Haddonfield, either 9 or 10 p.m. start times. On Facebook at Dean Renner, and in the Legacy of Halloween Facebook group that is rapidly growing week to week. So like you said, I think 350 by the end of the year is a realistic and probable goal that we'll probably hit. So find me on Facebook, everybody.
Tomorrow night on the channel, we are watching, in my opinion, what is the greatest motion picture film ever made. Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. 9 p.m. Eastern. But before we do that, I got a rant about stupid shit in Star Wars fandom that's all over the internet. And some of this shit was all around the Halloween universe too during these 3 movies. And I gotta fucking tell you, I'm tired of it. So I'm gonna go off a bit tomorrow night before we watch, maybe even when we're watching Empire, but that would take away from Empire. So tune in to that. Wednesday night we got Welcome to the Geek Side. I know there'll be some wrestling content on that, and then very soon, hopefully sometime in the next month or so, brand new Thursday night show to be announced. For Dean and everybody else at the channel, I'm Sean. We'll see you next week. Halloween TV series pitches. Bring your best. We'll see you then. Good night.